British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. I'm Clara Lonto here with your 3:30 news update. Happening now, another black smoke comes out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, which means no pope was elected on this first round. They will be electing the 267th pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. 2/3 or 89 votes are required to be elected as the pope. They will meet again tomorrow after Mass, and it will be the first full day of voting. In local, a woman has been arrested in Surrey after a fire in North Surrey. The incident happened around 8:45 last night in a fourplex on 132A Street. Police says firefighters responded to the scene and put out the flames. Neighboring homes were evacuated and there's no other injuries. Still in local, following the Lapu-Lapu Festival tragedy, Vancouver is still coming to terms with the hardships of its Filipino community. The Cinematheque, a movie theater in downtown Vancouver, joins in the grief of the community. Our reporter Gabrielle Rui has more.
This summer, the Cinematheque will be premiering Batang West Side, a film by celebrated Filipino director Lav Diaz. It chronicles the lives of the Filipino diaspora in New Jersey and their descent into economic and social hardships. Programming associate Michael Scolar has more to add.
And it's set in contemporary times, so it was shot around 2001. But it deals with these sort of elements of family and crime and relationships.
The film will be having two premieres, one on May 18th and another on June 15th. Gabrielle Rui, BCIT News.
Gabrielle is on the studio with us right now. So, Gabrielle, how can audiences in Vancouver connect with the movie?
Audiences in Vancouver, specifically Filipino audiences, will be able to feel an emotional connection with the characters because they're in similar situations. Their lifestyles may not be exactly the same as the characters, but the spirit and mindset of Filipino immigrants is clearly present in the film, and that is something that Filipinos will easily recognize. Even if Filipinos in Vancouver lack knowledge on life in New Jersey, they will still form an emotional attachment to the characters because, at the end of the day, Filipino immigrants can already understand each other's problems without having to explain everything.
Okay, thank you. When the film was released in 2001, how was it initially received?
From the start, it already garnered acclaim from critics. The film swept most of the awards at the Yurian Honors, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and Best Actor. It also won Best Picture at the Singapore International Film Festival and the Belgium Independent Film Festival. Although its total runtime was around 5 hours, it still garnered praise for its subject matter, acting, and writing.
Thank you, Gabby. Still with the festival, Premier David Eby said he apologized for his comment on the suspect of the Lapu-Lapu incident that he said on legislature last week, where he said that the suspect should spend the rest of his life in jail. Today, Eby said that the court is independent enough to disregard his opinion on the matter.
This is a community that's very close to me. I feel very personally, personally people who were there, who were directly involved. I think that I have a stronger level of confidence in the independence of the judiciary and their ability to withstand my own feelings about what should happen to this individual. And I'll leave it at that.
Moving on, Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreations will be opening outdoor pools and beaches on May 17th. Registration for the first swim times in outdoor aquatic will open on May 14 at noon. Drop-ins are available, however, admission is not guaranteed. Kitsilano Pool's operating hours will be extended during the summer. Additionally, more lifeguards will be stationed on 9 beaches. Still in local, there's a new beer hitting the shelves in Langley, an all-Canadian craft beer from the hops to the barley and all things in between. Our reporter Braden Goodman has more on the story.
Langley's own Dead Frog Brewery is tapping into patriotism with the launch of its new Canada Proud Craft Lager, a refreshing craft beer made entirely from Canadian ingredients. The award-winning brewery is celebrating unity, resilience, and Canadian spirit at a time when national pride is at an all-time high. Aiming to promote unity and community values, the new beer offering is more than just a crisp, homegrown lager. Each can supports local communities, with a portion of the proceeds going to the BC Hospitality Foundation and local firefighter charities. Braden Goodman, BCIT News.
Braden is on the line with us. So, Braden, what demographic is buying the Canada Proud lager?
Thanks for having me on, Clara. Well, I sat down with the CEO and founder, Derek Smith, and he said that Dead Frog has seen all ages across the board buy the lager, but mainly it's the older generations as well as millennials. They're hoping once the beer kind of hits shelves in more convenient liquor stores, it'll be more accessible.
Okay, and where are they sourcing their ingredients from?
So, CEO Derek Smith, said that they source most of their hops and malt from Chilliwack. The water comes from North Vancouver and the wheat from Alberta. And they actually grow their yeast in-house at the brewing facility out in Langley.
Okay, thank you so much, Braden.
Thanks for having me on.
In national news, Quebec is implementing a new tipping rules and on-price display at grocery retailers in effect as of today. Reporter Siddhartha Banerjee has more information.
Tip choices that appear on terminals must now be calculated on the price before taxes, and tipping options must be neutral and uniform, so that a merchant can't suggest a percentage that a client should give. Also, grocery retailers will now have to include more information on displays, such as the price per unit of measure and the price for customers who don't belong to a store's rewards program. The province has also raised the price accuracy policy to $15 from $10, meaning that if the price at checkout is higher than the advertised price, the product must be offered for free if it is less than $15 or discounted if above. Justice Minister Simon Jolin Barrette says the goal is to make life simpler for Quebecers. Siddhartha Banerjee, The Canadian Press.
In politics, NDP introduced a legislation that will make it harder for Saskatchewan to separate from Canada. Saskatchewan leader Carla Beck says a bill to initiate the separation has to double. The bill now requires 30% of voters to sign a petition instead.
Citizen-led referendums are part of our democracy. People deserve to have a say. But we also need to be clear as leaders that a vote to separate from Canada would damage our economy for years to come. And the bar has to be set high to reflect that, to reflect the gravity of that vote.
Premier Scott Moe has accused the NDP of attempting to silence the public through legislative changes. Still in politics, U.S. President Donald Trump speaks about the trade war with China in the Oval Office today. Reporter Karen Travers has more information on the topic.
President Trump says he won't reduce his 145% tariffs on Chinese goods in order to kickstart negotiations with China. ABC asking the president in the Oval Office,
"Are you open to pulling back your tariffs in order to get China to the negotiating table?"
No.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will meet with his Chinese counterpart in Switzerland this weekend. China has said that bringing down the tariffs is a requirement for real negotiations on trade. Bessent said he thinks the talks this weekend will focus on de-escalation. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Now for sports, many Blue Jays fans on the West Coast are refusing to go to Seattle to watch their favorite team play over the weekend. Reporter Hayden Stewart has more.
Heading down south to T-Mobile Park when the Toronto Blue Jays are in Seattle is the only chance for many fans in BC and Alberta to see their favorite team play during the season. However, due to recent events between Canada and the United States, Ryder Kent, a Blue Jays fan for over 10 years, has decided not to make the trip this year.
I'll be a little bummed out that I wouldn't be able to go down, but I'll still be supporting my team and all of Canada at this point.
Showing resilience and strength against America seems to be more important for Canadians than cheering on their favorite baseball team in person. Hayden Stewart, BCIT News.
Hayden is with us in the studio right now. Hayden, how many people are expected to be at the games this weekend?
Well, right now, Clara, it's looking like 60 to 70% of the stadium is at capacity for the 3 days. However, there still is a couple days to buy tickets, so we should see that total go up. But in past years, it has been sold out, a couple weeks before game day rather than there still being tickets this late.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to entertainment, Disney announced that they will be building its 7th park in Abu Dhabi. In weather, it is 16 degrees today with 30% chance of showers. Tonight will be cloudy with a high of 13 and low of 11. I'm Clara Lonto with your 3:30 news, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon, I'm Emma Bolsner, and here are your sports headlines for 3:45. Starting off with hockey, the Abbotsford Canucks are playing Game 3 tonight of the playoffs against the Coachella Valley Firebirds. The team is hoping to pick up the pace after an overtime loss against the Firebirds on Saturday. Tonight's game is at the Abbotsford Centre with puck drop at 7. And in the NHL playoffs, the Toronto Maple Leafs play against the Florida Panthers at 4 in Game 2 on Monday. The Maple Leafs won 5-4 against the Panthers. And the former Utah Hockey Club is now known as Utah Mammoth. The NHL team name change comes over a year after fans could suggest name suggestions. Owner Ashley Smith spoke at a press conference on how she feels about the franchise and the new name.
It kind of is the icing on the cake that those same fans chose the Mammoth. And we are excited, and Utah should be proud because we get to go build a culture around this strong identity. I'm just excited.
The team will still have the same colors of black, light blue, and white on their jerseys. In baseball, many Toronto Blue Jays fans on the West Coast are refusing to go to Seattle to watch their favorite team play. Reporter Hayden Stewart has more on this story.
Heading down south to T-Mobile Park when the Toronto Blue Jays are in Seattle is the only chance for many fans in BC and Alberta to see their favorite team play during this season. Ryder Kent, a longtime Blue Jays fan, has decided not to make the trip this year due to the tariffs and rising tensions between Canada and the United States. He spoke about what he'll miss the most from the trip.
You know, you get to hang out with your friends that you've made from baseball, playing your whole life, go watch some baseball, have some stadium food. So the memories I make from it is really the best part.
Although he won't be in the stands, Kent will be cheering loud from home. Hayden Stewart, BCIT News.
The Blue Jays are also looking to add new prospects to their team after experiencing ongoing losses. The Jays' #1 prospect, Arjun Nimmala, is currently playing for the Vancouver Canadians. Nimmala has won 6 home runs in 22 games, more than any current Jays player. He will be playing tonight against Spokane. The Canadians' next home game is on May 13th. And sticking to local baseball, the UBC Thunderbirds are heading to their championship tournament. Reporter Thomas Adams has more on what's next for these student athletes.
Canadians have never had the biggest presence in Major League Baseball. However, this is not going to stop UBC's local players from making a name for themselves. With the team's success this season, some of these Canadian stars are being scouted by Major League teams. Head coach Chris Pritchett touches on players' focus leading up to the MLB draft.
We just try to keep our guys focused on what they're doing to give them the best chance of getting drafted and try not to worry about other people's evaluation, things like that might detract from their performance. So that's kind of where we're focused, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of guys' names called.
With many players on the Thunderbirds excelling this season, they are looking to become valuable pieces to Major League organizations. Thomas Adams, BCIT News.
In basketball, Golden State Warrior Stephen Curry will be out for at least a week after an injury in last night's game against the Wolves. The MRI confirmed that he strained his left hamstring. Coach Steve Kerr had more to say in a press conference after the game last night.
You know, he's obviously crushed, but, you know, the guys picked him up and played a great game, and obviously we're all, you know, concerned about Steph, but it's part of the game. You just... guys get hurt and you move on. Our guys did a great job of moving on and getting a great win, you know, 48 hours after a Game 7.
In soccer, Paris Saint-Germain will move on to the Champions League final after beating Arsenal 2-1 in the semi-final match today. PSG will face Inter Milan in the Champions League final on May 31st. And golf fans, listen up. The PGA of America is giving away 3,000 tickets over the next 5 months to the Ryder Cup in New York. The Ryder Cup will be held at Bethpage Black in September. And those are your sports headlines for 3:45. I'm Emma Bolsner for BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane.